I moved into a small two-bedroom apartment just outside of Portland after a job change, excited for a fresh start and relieved to find a roommate who seemed normal enough. Tyler, a quiet guy in his early 30s who mostly kept to himself and worked night shifts at some logistics company. For the first week or so, everything was fine. Tyler would sleep during the day and leave for work around 9 p.m., so we rarely crossed paths. But then I started noticing odd things about his room, specifically that he never let me see inside. The door was always locked even when he was home, and I could sometimes hear faint murmuring at night, like he was talking to someone, though I knew he lived alone before I moved in. One evening, I heard a soft scratching sound coming from his door, followed by what sounded like a low growl. I thought maybe he had a pet he hadn't told the landlord about, but when I asked, he simply stared at me, blinking slowly before muttering, "Don't ask about the room." I laughed it off until one night Tyler didn't come home. He didn't text or call, and I figured maybe he picked up an extra shift. But around midnight, I heard the door to his room creak open on its own. I froze on the couch, watching from the corner of my eye as the darkness within seemed almost alive. I should have left, but curiosity got the better of me. I approached the room slowly, and the air grew colder with each step. Inside, it was pitch black, the kind of black that seems to swallow sound and light. I flicked the switch. Nothing. No bulb. I took one step in and suddenly heard the unmistakable thump of someone or something dropping from the ceiling behind me. I turned around, and I still don't know how to describe it. It looked like Tyler, but the face was slack, the eyes glassy, and its mouth stretched wide open like it was trying to scream but had forgotten how. It lunged, and I slammed the door shut, heart racing. Moments later, the real Tyler walked through the front door and saw me sweating and shaking in front of his room. "You opened it, didn't you?" he whispered, his voice a trembling mix of anger and terror. "Now it knows you." I moved out the next morning without asking a single question. To this day, I still get nightmares about that dark shape. And sometimes I swear I hear scratching at my bedroom door, even though I live alone now. When I first met Emily through a roommate finding app, she came across as warm, charismatic, and stylishly eccentric. A bit too obsessed with old antiques and vintage mirrors, but otherwise she seemed harmless. We moved into a decent two-bedroom unit on the second floor of an older Victorian-style home, and right away she decorated her room with an unsettling number of ornate mirrors, most of them antique, all facing different directions. She claimed they helped her keep an eye on things, which I assumed was a joke. That was until I began hearing her talk to them. At first I thought she was just on the phone at night, but her side of the conversation was weird. Whispers, like, "I understand, yes, I saw her too, and don't worry, she won't interfere." I told myself it was just her being artsy or theatrical, maybe rehearsing for a play, but then I started seeing things, reflections in the hallway mirror that didn't match reality. Once, I passed by and caught a glimpse of Emily standing behind me, but when I turned around, the hallway was empty. Another time I saw her in the kitchen reflection, her back turned, but in the mirror she was facing me, smiling. I finally confronted her after a night where I woke up and found every mirror in the apartment tilted toward my room. She calmly told me, "They don't like you, you know. They think you don't belong here." I laughed, thinking she was just messing with me, but she didn't smile. "You should leave soon," she added. "They're getting impatient." I tried to sleep elsewhere, but the final straw came when I came home to find my reflection blinking out of sync. It blinked twice when I hadn't at all. I packed up and left that same night, ignoring Emily's calls and messages. A year later, I saw a post in a local forum, "Victorian rental on Hillcrest. Anyone else experience strange mirror activity?" The replies were filled with warnings, and one recurring name, Emily, described as the girl who feeds them reflections. I don't know what I lived with, but I'm sure it wasn't just Emily. I moved into Unit 3C of an old apartment complex in Chicago with a guy named Raj, who found the place through a Craigslist ad that weirdly didn't mention it was a 3-bedroom. The third room, the landlord said, was for storage only and should remain locked at all times. Raj didn't care. He was laid back, smoked too much weed, and played bass in a garage band. But he paid rent on time and was decent company. But it didn't take long before strange things started happening. Soft tapping on the third room's door, sometimes accompanied by what sounded like someone crying quietly. Raj joked it was ghost mice, but the noise never stopped. Worse, the door would rattle violently around 3 a.m. every other night, and once I found it slightly ajar, with what looked like fingernail scratches around the frame. We brought it up to the landlord, who seemed on edge and told us we could break the lease if we wanted. Raj, ever the stoner philosopher, insisted we stay. One night, high and curious, he picked the lock. I begged him not to, but he laughed and said, "Don't you want to know what's really in there?" The door swung open to reveal a bare room, except for an old mattress, a broken chair, and dozens of photographs taped to the walls. All of them were of me, sleeping, walking to work, brushing my teeth. Every single image featured me, and none of them were ones I'd ever taken. Raj backed out, pale as death, and slammed the door shut. That night, he disappeared. I woke up to find the front door wide open and Raj's phone lying on the floor outside the third room. No one's seen or heard from him since. The police didn't take it seriously, said he probably just took off, but I moved out the next day. I saw the listing for Unit 3C pop up again a month later, no mention of the third room, but the part that chills me the most. The newest tenant reviewed the place online and ended with, "Cool spot, great view, but the storage room's locked, and it sometimes smells like someone's living in there."